Chapter 1. The Abandoned Maiden. The winter wind howled through the thornwood forest like a chorus of wounded spirits. King Aldrich Shadowmane, ruler of the Lycan territories, moved through the darkness with predatory grace. His midnight black fur rippled beneath the silver moonlight as he patrolled the borders of his kingdom. For 300 years he had walked these woods, and never once had he encountered anything that stirred the dormant humanity within his beast, until tonight. The scent hit him first. Human female, and something else, something that made his wolf surge forward with unprecedented urgency, blood, fear, and beneath it all, a fragrance he had only read about in the ancient prophecies, sweet as honeysuckle and powerful as thunder, the scent of the moon's chosen. He found her collapsed against an ancient oak, her body trembling violently in the freezing air. She wore only a thin nightgown, torn and stained with mud and blood. Her feet were bare and bleeding, but what stopped Aldrich's breath, what made his centuries-old heart stutter in his chest, was the pronounced swell of her belly. She was heavily pregnant, perhaps 8 months along, and she was dying. Her eyes fluttered open as he approached, revealing irises the color of amber honey. Terror flashed across her delicate features when she saw his massive wolf form, easily the size of a horse, with eyes that glowed like molten gold. She tried to scramble backward, but had no strength left. "Please," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the wind. "Please don't hurt my baby. Kill me if you must, but spare my child." The words pierced something in Aldrich's chest. He shifted then, his body transforming in a cascade of silver light until he stood before her in his human form. Tall and broad-shouldered, with long black hair and those same golden eyes, he wrapped his fur cloak around his naked body and approached her slowly. "I mean you no harm," he said, his voice deep and rough from disuse. He rarely spoke in his human form anymore. "You're freezing, you'll die out here." She stared at him with those honey-colored eyes, confusion and hope warring on her face. "You're Lycan," she breathed. "They said Lycans were monsters, that you'd tear me apart." "Who said this?" Aldrich knelt beside her, already removing his cloak to wrap it around her shivering form. "My family." Her voice broke on the word. "When they discovered what I carried, they called me cursed, demon-touched. They dragged me from my bed in the middle of the night and left me here to die. My father said it was a mercy, that the alternative was burning." Aldrich's hands stilled. "What do you carry that would make your own blood abandon you to the winter?" She placed both hands protectively over her swollen belly, and that's when Aldrich saw it, the mark. Glowing faintly beneath the thin fabric of her nightgown, right over her womb, was the silver crescent of the moon goddess herself. Every hair on Aldrich's body stood on end. The ancient prophecy, the one his grandmother had whispered to him when he was just a pup, flooded back to him with crystalline clarity. "When the moon marks a human womb, when mortal blood carries immortal doom, the chosen shall be born of 2 worlds torn, to unite the packs or see them mourned." "What is your name?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Ilara." She winced as another contraction rippled through her. "Ilara Thorn. And I don't know how much longer I can hold on. My baby, she's coming early. The trauma, the cold. I think I'm in labor." Aldrich didn't hesitate. He scooped her into his arms as though she weighed nothing, cloak and all, and began running through the forest toward his castle. His Lycan speed ate up the miles, but he was careful to keep her steady, to shield her from the branches and the biting wind. "Why are you helping me?" Ilara asked against his chest, her teeth chattering. "Your kind has no love for humans. Everyone knows this." "Because," Aldrich said, his golden eyes fixed on the path ahead, "you carry something far more precious than you understand. And because no woman, human or Lycan, deserves to die alone in the cold, abandoned by those who should have protected her." The castle rose before them like a crown of stone and shadow, perched on the mountainside with towers that pierced the clouds. Ilara's eyes widened at the sight of it. "This is Shadowmane Keep, the seat of Lycan power. You're the king." "I am." He carried her through the massive doors, past shocked guards who immediately snapped to attention. "Summon the healer, now, and wake the council. Tell them the prophecy has begun." He took her to his own chambers, the only rooms in the castle that were kept warm year-round. He laid her gently on his bed, a massive thing of carved oak and soft furs. Her contractions were coming faster now, her face pale with pain and blood loss. The healer arrived within minutes, a wizened Lycan woman named Mora, who had delivered hundreds of pups over her long life. She took one look at Ilara, saw the mark glowing on her belly, and dropped to one knee. "Your Majesty," Mora breathed, "the chosen child. The prophecy is true." "Can you save them both?" Aldrich demanded, his voice harder than he intended. "The mother and the child?" Mora's expression was grave. "The child, yes. The mark will protect the babe, but the mother, she's lost so much blood. The trauma of her abandonment, the exposure, it's taken a terrible toll. I will do everything in my power, but you must prepare yourself, my king. She may not survive the birth." Aldrich looked at Ilara, at this fragile human woman who had been thrown away like refuse by her own family, who even now fought to protect the child in her womb with every labored breath. Something fierce and primal rose in his chest, something that had nothing to do with prophecy or destiny. "Then you will do everything and more," he said quietly, dangerously. "You will save them both, Mora. Use every herb, every spell, every drop of magic at your disposal. That is not a request." Over the next 6 hours, Ilara's screams echoed through Shadowmane Keep. Aldrich remained at her bedside the entire time, holding her hand, wiping the sweat from her brow, whispering words of encouragement in a voice that had gone unused for decades. The council gathered outside his chambers, whispering about prophecy and destiny, but Aldrich heard none of it. All his focus, all his considerable will, was bent on keeping this woman alive. Just before dawn, when the full moon hung low on the horizon, Ilara gave one final agonized cry. And then another sound filled the room, the powerful, healthy wail of a newborn child. "A girl," Mora announced, her voice thick with emotion. She held up the baby, and even covered in blood and birthing fluid, the child was extraordinary. Her eyes, already open, glowed silver-white like the full moon itself. The mark on her forehead, identical to the one that had been on Ilara's womb, pulsed with ethereal light. But Aldrich's attention was on Ilara. Her eyes had closed, her breathing had stopped. "No," he growled, moving to her side. Ilara, stay with me. Your daughter needs you." Mora worked frantically, her hands glowing with healing magic, but Ilara's skin was growing cold. The healer looked up at Aldrich with tears streaming down her weathered face. "My king, she's gone, I'm sorry. She gave everything she had to bring the chosen into this world." Aldrich stared at Ilara's peaceful face, at the woman who had shown more courage in one night than most warriors showed in a lifetime. Without thinking, acting purely on instinct, he bit into his own wrist and held it to her lips. "What are you doing?" Mora gasped. "Your Majesty, Lycan blood is poison to humans. It will kill her." "She's already dead," Aldrich snarled, "and I will not let her die. Not like this. Not when she fought so hard." His blood, ancient and powerful, flowed past Ilara's lips and down her throat. For a long moment nothing happened, then her body convulsed. Her eyes flew open, now shot through with veins of gold. She gasped, drawing in a huge breath, her heart thundering back to life with supernatural force. The transformation had begun, and nothing in the kingdom would ever be the same. Ilara's screams tore through Shadowmane Keep for 3 days and 3 nights. The transformation from human to Lycan was never meant to happen this way. Never meant to be forced upon someone who had just given birth, whose body was already traumatized beyond measure. But Aldrich's blood was ancient and powerful, the blood of the first Lycan kings, and it would not be denied. He never left her side. While Mora and her assistants worked to keep Ilara's fever down, to ease her pain with herbs and spells, Aldrich sat vigil beside her bed. He watched as her delicate human bones restructured themselves, as her senses sharpened to supernatural levels, as the wolf spirit entered her soul and made a home there. He listened to her beg for death, for mercy, for an end to the agony, and he held her hand through all of it. The baby, whom Mora had named Luna in the absence of her mother's consciousness, slept peacefully in a cradle beside the bed. The child was extraordinary. She never cried unless she was hungry, and even then it was a soft mewling sound rather than the wailing of a normal infant. Her eyes, when open, tracked movement with an intelligence far beyond her days, and the mark on her forehead pulsed with gentle silver light, especially when the moon was visible in the sky. On the 4th day, as the sun rose over the mountains, Ilara's eyes opened. They were no longer the honey amber of her human self. Now they glowed with golden fire, wolf eyes, marking her as one of the transformed. She sat up slowly, and Aldrich could see the precise moment when she registered her new reality, the sharpness of her vision, the overwhelming assault of sense, the sound of heartbeats from rooms away. "What did you do to me?" Her voice was different now, layered with a growl that spoke of the wolf within. "What am I?" "You were dying," Aldrich said simply. "I gave you my blood. It saved your life, but it also changed you. You're Lycan now, Ilara, like me." She looked down at her hands, turning them over as if seeing them for the first time. Her nails were sharper, almost claw-like. Her skin had taken on a luminous quality, and when she touched her face, she could feel that her features had sharpened, becoming almost ethereally beautiful. "My baby," she said suddenly, panic flooding her voice. "Where's my baby? Is she alive?" Aldrich gestured to the cradle. "She's perfect, healthy and strong. See for yourself." Ilara moved to the cradle with supernatural speed, then gasped at her own velocity, but all thoughts of her transformation fled when she looked down at her daughter. Luna gazed up at her mother with those remarkable silver eyes, and a sound of pure joy escaped Ilara's lips. "Hello, little one," she whispered, reaching down to pick up her baby with a gentleness that belied her new strength. "I'm your mama. I'm so sorry I wasn't here for your first days." "You were fighting to stay alive," Aldrich said quietly, "so you could be here for all the days after." Ilara turned to him, her daughter cradled against her chest. "You turned me into a monster to save my life. I should hate you for that, for taking away my humanity without my consent." "Perhaps you should," Aldrich agreed. "But would you rather be dead? Would you rather have left your daughter motherless in a world that already seeks to destroy her?" "Why does the world want to destroy her?" Ilara demanded. "Because of this mark. What does it mean? What is she?" Aldrich moved to the window, looking out over his kingdom. "There is a prophecy, ancient as the moon itself. It speaks of a child born of two worlds, marked by the goddess, who will either unite all Lycan packs under one banner or see them destroyed in eternal war. Your daughter is that child, Ilara, the moon's chosen, the one we have waited centuries for." Ilara looked down at Luna, at her innocent face, at the silver mark glowing softly on her forehead. "She's just a baby. How can she be responsible for the fate of an entire race? She won't be. Not for many years." Aldrich turned back to face her. "But her existence will be seen as either a blessing or a threat. There are those who will want to use her, to control her destiny, and there are those who will want her dead, who fear the change she represents." "Then we'll protect her," Ilara said fiercely, her golden eyes blazing with newfound power. "I don't care what I've become or what she's meant to be. She's my daughter, and no one will harm her while I draw breath." A smile tugged at Aldrich's lips, the first genuine smile in longer than he could remember. "There's the wolf I gave you. Good. You'll need that fire for what comes next." "What comes next?" "You need to learn to control your transformation, to shift between human and wolf form at will, to harness your new strength without breaking everything you touch. And Luna needs to be presented to the council, to the other packs. They need to see her, to understand that the prophecy is real." Over the following weeks, Ilara trained relentlessly. Aldrich himself became her teacher, guiding her through her first shift into wolf form. She was beautiful as a wolf, he noted, with fur the color of autumn leaves, russet and gold and brown, and those same fierce eyes. She was smaller than he was in wolf form, more agile, built for speed where he was built for power. They ran together through the forests at night, and Aldrich found himself looking forward to these hours more than he cared to admit. Ilara was quick-witted and brave, asking questions no one else dared to ask, challenging his authority when she thought he was wrong. She was also devoted to Luna with a ferocity that moved him. She never let the baby out of her sight, nursing her, singing to her, protecting her with a mother's unconditional love. The castle staff, initially wary of the human-turned-Lycan, grew to respect Ilara. She treated everyone with kindness, from the highest-ranking generals to the lowest servants. She learned their names, asked about their families, and genuinely cared about their welfare. It was a stark contrast to the cold distance Aldrich maintained with his subjects. "You're too soft with them," Aldrich told her one evening as they watched Luna sleep. "They'll see it as weakness. They see it as humanity," Ilara countered. "Something I think you've forgotten you possess. You're not just a wolf, Aldrich. You're a man too. When was the last time you laughed? When was the last time you let yourself feel anything other than duty and responsibility? The question struck deeper than she knew. Aldrich had locked away his human heart centuries ago after watching everyone he loved grow old and die while he remained unchanged. It was easier to be the wolf, to rule with strength and distance than to risk the pain of connection. But watching Ilara with Luna, seeing the love that transformed her face every time she looked at her daughter, something long dormant stirred in his chest. "I feel something now," he admitted quietly. "When I'm with you and Luna, I feel hope, purpose, things I haven't felt in longer than I care to remember." Ilara met his gaze, and the air between them crackled with sudden tension. "Aldrich, I need to know, why did you really save me? Was it just because of the prophecy, because of what Luna represents?" He could have lied, should have lied, but something in her eyes demanded truth. "At first, yes. When I saw the mark, I knew what she was. But when I held you in my arms, when I ran through the forest with your life bleeding away, it became about more than prophecy. It became about you, about saving a woman who had been betrayed by everyone who should have loved her. About giving you the chance to see your daughter grow. I saved you because letting you die felt like losing something precious before I ever had the chance to understand what it was." Ilara's breath caught. "I'm beginning to understand what it is," she whispered. "This connection between us, it's more than gratitude, more than you being Luna's savior." "Don't," Aldrich said, but there was no force behind the word. "Don't let yourself feel that way. I'm a king, Ilara. I've lived for 3 centuries. You deserve someone who can give you a normal life, a human life." "I'm not human anymore," she reminded him, "and I don't want normal. Normal abandoned me to die in the woods. Normal called my daughter cursed. Normal has never done anything but hurt me. You saved me, you gave me power, you gave me the ability to protect my child. That's worth more than any normal life ever could be." Before Aldrich could respond, the door burst open. Mora rushed in, her face pale with fear. "Your Majesty, forgive the intrusion, but the Council has received word. The Northern Pack, led by Alpha Fenrir, is marching on Shadowmane Keep. They're bringing an army. They say the chosen child is an abomination and must be destroyed before she brings ruin to all Lycans. They'll be here within 2 days." Aldrich's face hardened into a mask of cold fury. "Then we prepare for war. Send word to our allies, fortify the castle, and ready the warriors. No one threatens what is under my protection and lives to speak of it." As Mora rushed to carry out his orders, Ilara clutched Luna closer to her chest. "They're coming for her. For our baby." "Let them come," Aldrich growled, his eyes blazing with golden fire. "They'll learn what it means to face a king protecting what he loves." The word hung in the air between them. Love. He had said it. And in that moment, Ilara knew that whatever happened next, they would face it together. The Northern Pack arrived at dawn on the 3rd day, 500 strong, their howls echoing through the valleys like the cry of approaching death. Alpha Fenrir led them, a massive silver-white wolf with scars crisscrossing his muzzle and ice-blue eyes that held no mercy. He had ruled the northern territories for 200 years through brutality and fear, and he saw the prophecy of the Moon's Chosen not as hope but as a threat to his power. Aldrich stood on the battlements of Shadowmane Keep, watching the army approach. Behind him, his own forces were arrayed, 300 of the finest Lycan warriors in the realm. They were outnumbered, but they had the advantage of position and the fierce determination of wolves protecting their home. Ilara stood beside him, Luna secured in a carrier against her chest, protected by layers of enchanted leather armor that Mora had hastily prepared. She had begged Aldrich to let her stay in the keep's deepest chambers with the baby, to hide while the battle raged, but he had refused. "They need to see her," he had said. "They need to see what they're fighting for. Hope isn't something you hide in the darkness. It's something you hold up to the light even when, especially when, that makes it vulnerable." Now, as Fenrir's army came to a halt just beyond arrow range, Ilara understood. This wasn't just about protecting Luna. It was about showing the Lycan world that the chosen child existed, that the prophecy was real, and that anyone who sought to harm her would face the wrath of King Aldrich Shadowmane. Fenrir shifted into his human form, a towering man with long white hair and a face that looked carved from stone. He wore furs and leather, and at his hip hung a sword forged from meteoric iron, a weapon that could kill even a Lycan. Aldrich Shadowmane! His voice boomed across the field. I call upon the ancient laws of parley. Meet me between our armies. Let us discuss this matter as alphas, not as enemies. It's a trap, Ilara hissed. He'll kill you the moment you're in range. Perhaps, Aldrich agreed. But if there's even a chance to end this without bloodshed, I have to take it. For Luna. For all the wolves who will die today if we fight. He shifted into his human form, magnificent and terrifying in his black armor, his long dark hair whipping in the wind. He strode out onto the field between the armies, and Fenrir met him halfway. The two alphas stood facing each other, ancient enemies, divided by ideology and united only by their Lycan blood. You harbor an abomination, Fenrir said without preamble. A half-human child marked by forces we don't understand. The prophecy speaks of unity or destruction, Aldrich. I say we're heading for destruction. That child will tear our world apart. That child is innocent, Aldrich replied, his voice deadly calm. She's 4 weeks old, Fenrir. She's done nothing to you or anyone else. And the prophecy also speaks of unity, of all packs coming together under one banner. Isn't that worth the risk? Isn't that worth protecting? Unity under whose banner? Fenrir snarled. Yours? You think I've held the North for 2 centuries just to bend the knee to some human-born whelp because the moon marked her? I know what this really is, Aldrich. A power play. You'll use that child to claim dominion over all packs. To make yourself High King, I won't allow it. This isn't about power, Aldrich said, and there was something in his voice that made even Fenrir pause. This is about survival. Our kind is dying out, Fenrir. Fewer pups are born each year. The old magic is fading. The humans grow stronger while we fight among ourselves. That child represents hope, a bridge between worlds, a chance for something new. And you want to destroy her because you're afraid of change. I'm afraid of nothing, Fenrir growled, least of all you. I'll give you one chance, Aldrich. Hand over the child. Let me end her quickly, painlessly. In return, I'll swear fealty to you, bring the North under your banner, give you the unity you claim to want. All it costs is one infant life, one small sacrifice for the greater good. The silence that followed was absolute. Every wolf on both sides of the field held their breath, waiting to see what their king would do. The offer was tempting from a strategic standpoint. It would end the conflict, unite 2 of the most powerful packs, avoid the bloodshed that was otherwise inevitable. Aldrich's answer was to shift into his wolf form and lunge at Fenrir's throat. The northern alpha barely dodged in time, shifting as well, and the 2 massive wolves collided in a fury of fangs and claws. The signal for battle had been given. With howls of rage and bloodlust, both armies surged forward. Ilara watched from the battlements as chaos erupted below. She wanted to join the fight, every instinct in her new wolf nature screaming at her to defend her pack, her king, her home. But Luna was her first priority. She couldn't risk her daughter in battle. My lady, Mora appeared at her side, breathing hard. You need to get to the vault. Now. There are northern wolves climbing the walls on the eastern side. They're going to breach the keep. Ilara's blood ran cold. They sent a second force. This was always their plan. The parley, the open battle, it was all distraction. Yes, and they're coming for Luna specifically. I can smell their intent. These aren't soldiers, they're assassins. Ilara didn't hesitate. She ran through the castle corridors, Mora at her side, heading for the ancient vault beneath the keep where the most precious treasures were stored. Behind them, she could hear the sounds of fighting as northern wolves broke through the defenses and engaged the castle guard. They made it to the vault entrance, a massive door of carved stone covered in protective runes. Mora spoke the words to open it, and the door swung inward, revealing a chamber lined with gold and artifacts from centuries of Shadowmane rule. Get inside, Mora urged. I'll seal it behind you. They won't be able to break through, not with the wards in place. What about you? Ilara demanded. I'll slow them down, buy you time, protect the chosen, my lady, that's all that matters now. Before Ilara could protest, Mora shoved her into the vault and began speaking the sealing words. The door started to close, but not before Ilara saw them. A dozen northern wolves in human form, armed with silver blades, rushing down the corridor toward them. Mora shifted into her wolf form, ancient and grey but still fierce, and met them head-on. Her snarls and their battle cries were cut off as the vault door sealed shut with a sound like thunder. Ilara was alone in the darkness with Luna. The baby, sensing her mother's fear, began to whimper. Ilara held her close, singing softly, the same lullaby her own mother had sung to her before everything had gone wrong. Outside, the battle raged. Aldrich and Fenrir tore into each other with savage intensity, two alpha wolves fighting for dominance, for their beliefs, for the future of their kind. Aldrich was faster, but Fenrir was heavier, more experienced. They were evenly matched, and both knew this fight would end with one of them dead. Aldrich managed to get his jaws around Fenrir's foreleg and bit down hard, bone crunched. Fenrir howled in pain and rage, then twisted with surprising flexibility and raked his claws across Aldrich's ribs, drawing deep furrows of blood. They broke apart, circling each other, both wounded, both panting. Around them, the battle had turned into a stalemate. The southern forces held the advantage of terrain, but the northern wolves outnumbered them and fought with desperate fury. "You're strong, Aldrich," Fenrir growled, his injured leg held at an angle. "But you're fighting for the wrong cause. That child will doom us all." "That child is our future," Aldrich snarled back, "and I will die before I let you harm her." "So be it." They clashed again, and this time Fenrir fought dirty. He feinted left, then went low, going for Aldrich's throat with a speed that belied his injury. Aldrich barely twisted away in time, but Fenrir's fangs still found purchase, tearing into his shoulder. Aldrich roared in pain, then used his superior weight to bear Fenrir to the ground. They rolled, snapping and clawing, two forces of nature trying to destroy each other. When they finally broke apart again, both were bleeding heavily. That's when Aldrich heard it, a sound that made his blood freeze. Ilara's voice, screaming his name through the mate bond that had been forming between them, a bond he hadn't acknowledged until this moment. "They've breached the vault. They're coming for Luna." Aldrich's head snapped up, his eyes finding the keep. He could see northern wolves pouring through the eastern wall, could smell their intent. They'd planned this perfectly. The battle was a distraction. The real objective had always been assassinating Luna. He had to choose. Continue fighting Fenrir, potentially ending the Northern Alpha and breaking their army's will, or abandon the battle and race back to protect Ilara and Luna. As a king, as a strategist, he knew the right choice. Finish Fenrir, win the battle, trust in the vault's defenses. But as a man, as a wolf who had finally found something worth loving, there was no choice at all. Aldrich turned and ran toward the keep, leaving Fenrir wounded but alive on the battlefield. Behind him he heard the Northern Alpha's mocking laughter. "Coward, your weakness will destroy you." But Aldrich didn't care. All that mattered was reaching them in time. He shifted into human form as he entered the keep, taking the stairs 3 at a time, following the scent of blood and battle down toward the vault. He found Mora first. The old healer lay in the corridor, in human form, surrounded by dead northern assassins. She had taken down 6 before they'd overwhelmed her. Silver daggers protruded from her back and chest. She was still breathing, barely. "My king," she whispered as he knelt beside her. "I'm sorry. I couldn't stop them all. They had a ward breaker. They opened the vault." Aldrich's heart stopped. "Ilara? Luna? Fighting? Your lady, she's fierce, but there were so many." Mora's eyes began to close. "Protect them. Protect our future. Mora, stay with me." But even as he said it, he felt her spirit leave her body. The old healer who had delivered him into this world centuries ago was gone. With a roar of grief and rage, Aldrich charged into the vault. What he found there would be seared into his memory forever. Ilara in wolf form, her autumn fur matted with blood, standing over Luna's carrier, surrounded by dead northern wolves. She was wounded in 12 places, swaying with exhaustion, but still standing, still fighting. And facing her was the last assassin, a massive black wolf with red eyes drawing back for a killing strike. Aldrich hit the assassin like a battering ram, his transformation instantaneous. They crashed into the vault wall hard enough to crack stone. The black wolf tried to fight, but Aldrich was beyond reason, beyond mercy. He tore into it with a fury born of terror and love, and within seconds, it was over. The last assassin fell dead. The vault was silent except for Ilara's labored breathing. Aldrich shifted back to human form and rushed to her side. She was transforming too, her wounds even more horrific in human form. "Luna," she gasped. Is she? Aldrich checked the carrier with trembling hands. Luna gazed up at him with those silver eyes, completely unharmed, the mark on her forehead glowing protectively. She had somehow shielded herself, or the goddess had shielded her. Either way, she was safe. "She's perfect," Aldrich said, his voice breaking. "Because of you. You saved her, Ilara. You magnificent, fierce, incredible woman." "Good," Ilara whispered. Then her eyes rolled back and she collapsed. Aldrich caught her before she hit the ground, cradling her broken body against his chest. No. Not again. He couldn't lose her again. He called for healers, for help, but he already knew. Her wounds were too severe. She had fought beyond her limits, beyond what even a Lycan could survive. She was dying in his arms, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. "Don't leave me," he whispered against her hair. "Please, Ilara, Luna needs you. I need you." Her eyes fluttered open one last time. "Promise me," she breathed. "Promise me you'll protect her. Raise her. Love her. I promise," Aldrich said, tears streaming down his face for the first time in 300 years. "I swear it on my life, on my soul. But you have to stay. You have to help me keep that promise." Ilara smiled, soft and sad. "You don't need me for that. You're already the father she needs, the king we all need. I'm so tired, Aldrich, so tired." "I love you," he said desperately. "I should have said it sooner. I love you, Ilara Thorne. Don't leave me before I can show you what that means." "I love you too," she whispered. "That's why this doesn't hurt, because I know she'll have you. Be happy, my king. Be the man as well as the wolf." And then she was gone. Again. This time there would be no blood magic to bring her back. No miracle transformation. She had given everything, burned through her life force to protect her daughter, and there was nothing left to save. Aldrich threw back his head and howled, a sound of such anguish that it echoed through the entire keep, across the battlefield, into the very mountains themselves. Every wolf who heard it, friend and foe alike, felt their hearts break with the weight of their king's grief. The battle ended not with victory or defeat, but with collective mourning. When Fenrir and his northern wolves heard Aldrich's cry of loss, when they felt the death of Ilara through the bond all Lycans shared with their kind, something shifted. The northern alpha called for his forces to stand down, and he approached the keep alone, unarmed. He found Aldrich in the vault, still holding Ilara's body, with Luna sleeping peacefully in her carrier beside them. The king of the southern territories looked up at his enemy, with eyes that had gone dead, emptied of everything except grief. "I'm sorry," Fenrir said, and the sincerity in his voice was unmistakable. This isn't what I wanted. I came to prevent death, not cause it. That woman was a warrior. She died protecting what she loved. There's no greater honor." "Get out," Aldrich said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Get out before I kill you where you stand." "I will. I'm withdrawing my forces. But first I need you to understand something." Fenrir knelt down, bringing himself to eye level with the seated king. "I saw her fight. I felt her determination through the bond. She wasn't defending a prophecy or a symbol. She was defending her child with a mother's love. That's not something born of dark magic or political machination. That's pure. That's real. And if that child can inspire that kind of love, that kind of sacrifice, then maybe I was wrong about her." Aldrich looked at Luna, at the peaceful baby who had no idea her mother had just died for her. "She's everything Ilara said she was. Innocent, perfect, worthy of protection. And I failed to protect the one who brought her into this world." "You tried to do everything," Fenrir said quietly. "Fight the battle, protect the child, save the woman. But even a king can't be everywhere at once. What matters now is what you do next, how you honor her memory." "I raise her daughter," Aldrich said, placing a gentle hand on Luna's carrier. "I keep my promise. I protect the moon's chosen and guide her toward her destiny, whatever that may be." Fenrir was silent for a long moment. Then he did something that shocked everyone who witnessed it. He bowed his head, baring his neck in a gesture of submission. "Then you don't do it alone. The Northern Pack will stand with you, Aldrich Shadowmane. We will help protect the chosen child. We will honor the mother who died defending her, and when the child comes of age, we will follow wherever she leads. This I swear on the blood of my fallen warriors." Aldrich stared at him, searching for deception, for hidden motives, but all he found was genuine respect and a sadness that mirrored his own. Why? Why this change of heart? Because your Ilara taught me something today. She was human, then newly transformed, facing impossible odds, and she never backed down. She fought with a courage that puts our ancient bloodlines to shame. If a human-born Lycan can possess that kind of strength, that kind of love, then perhaps the chosen child, born of human and Lycan blood both, can bridge our worlds, can unite us, can be exactly what the prophecy promised. Fenrir stood. I'll leave you to your grief, but know this. When you're ready to move forward, you have an ally in the north. After Fenrir left, Aldrich remained in the vault for hours, holding Ilara, memorizing every feature of her face, every strand of her autumn hair. He wept until he had no tears left, until his grief transformed into something harder, more resolute. A determination to make her sacrifice mean something. The funeral was held 3 days later, under the full moon that Ilara had never gotten to run beneath as a fully trained Lycan. They built a pyre on the highest point of Shadowmane Keep, and every Lycan in the southern territories came to pay their respects. Even the northern pack sent representatives bearing gifts of silver and furs to honor the fallen mother. Aldrich stood before the gathered wolves in his human form, holding Luna in his arms, and spoke. Ilara Thorn was abandoned by her human family for carrying a child they deemed cursed. She was left to die in the cold and darkness, betrayed by those who should have loved her. But she survived. She fought. She transformed into one of us, and embraced it with a courage that humbled even the oldest among us. She gave her life defending her daughter, defending hope, defending the future. We will not forget her. We will not let her death be meaningless. And we will raise her daughter to be worthy of such a sacrifice. He lit the pyre himself, and as the flames consumed Ilara's body, every Lycan present threw back their heads and howled. The sound carried across the mountains, a song of grief and honor that the land itself seemed to absorb and remember. When the pyre had burned down to embers, Aldrich scattered Ilara's ashes in the forest where he had found her, in the shadow of the ancient oak where she had nearly died. It seemed fitting, a circle completed. From this place of abandonment and despair her story had begun, and here it would be remembered every time he ran these woods, every time he passed this tree. The months that followed were difficult. Aldrich had to learn to be a father, to care for an infant while also ruling a kingdom. He was terrible at it at first. He held Luna too carefully, afraid his strength would break her. He panicked when she cried, not understanding what she needed. He barely slept, terrified something would happen to her while his guard was down. But slowly, with help from the castle staff and patience from Luna herself, he learned. He learned that she liked to be sung to, that his deep rumbling voice soothed her in ways nothing else could. He learned that she was fascinated by the moon, that she would calm instantly when taken to a window where she could see it. He learned that she was preternaturally intelligent, tracking faces and sounds and movement far earlier than normal babies. As Luna grew, the mark on her forehead remained, glowing softly whenever she was happy or excited. She was a beautiful child, with her mother's features and coloring, but those extraordinary silver eyes that marked her as something more. By her first birthday, she was walking and speaking simple words. By her second, she was reading. By her third, she could shift into a small wolf pup with fur that shimmered like moonlight. Aldrich raised her with stories of her mother, making sure Ilara's memory remained vivid and present. He told Luna about how brave Ilara had been, how fierce, how loving. He showed her the oak tree in the forest and explained how her mother had survived impossible odds to bring her into the world. "Mama was strong," Luna said one day when she was 5 years old, standing beneath that oak tree with her small hand in Aldrich's large one. "Like you, Papa." The word Papa still made Aldrich's heart clench. He had never expected to be called that, had never imagined himself as a father. But Luna had started using it when she was 2, and it had stuck. He was her papa, and she was his daughter in every way that mattered. "Stronger than me," Aldrich corrected gently. "She gave her life for you. There's no greater strength than that." "When I'm big," Luna said with the absolute certainty of childhood, "I'm going to make her proud. I'm going to unite all the packs, just like the prophecy says, and everyone will know that Ilara Thorn's daughter brought peace." Aldrich knelt down to look her in the eyes. "The prophecy says you'll unite the packs or see them destroyed. It's not a guarantee, Luna. It's a warning. The path ahead of you will be difficult and dangerous." There will be those who oppose you, who fear what you represent. I'm not afraid, Luna said, her silver eyes blazing with determination, because I have you, and I have Mama watching over me from the moon, and I have all the wolves who believe in me. That's enough. Aldrich pulled her into a hug, this remarkable child who carried the hopes of an entire race on her small shoulders. You're right, it is enough. And I promise you, Luna, I will be with you every step of the way. I swore to your mother that I would protect you, raise you, love you. And I have. I do. I always will. As the years passed, Luna grew into her destiny. She trained with the greatest warriors, learning to fight in both human and wolf form. She studied with scholars, learning history and diplomacy and strategy. She traveled to every Lycan territory, meeting the different packs, earning their respect through her wisdom and strength. And everywhere she went, Aldrich was at her side, not just as her king, but as her father. He taught her everything he knew about leadership and honor. He showed her how to be fierce when necessary and compassionate when possible. He made sure she understood that her power came not from the mark on her forehead or the prophecy surrounding her birth, but from the choices she made and the values she upheld. On Luna's 18th birthday, the leaders of all Lycan packs gathered at Shadowmane Keep for a historic summit. The Northern Pack, the Eastern clans, the Western Forests, the Southern Territories, they all sent their alphas and representatives. It was the first time in recorded history that all Lycans had come together peacefully. Luna stood before them in the Great Hall, a young woman now, beautiful and powerful, with her mother's courage and her father's wisdom. The mark on her forehead blazed with silver light, and when she spoke, her voice carried the authority of the moon goddess herself. My mother died to give me life, she said, and my father sacrificed everything to raise me. They believed in a future where we don't fight among ourselves, where we stand united against the challenges that face our kind. I'm asking you now to believe in that future too, to put aside old grudges and territorial disputes, to come together as one people, one pack, under the banner of the moon that marks us all. Not because a prophecy says you must, but because it's the right thing to do. Because together, we're stronger. Together we can survive. There was a long silence. Then Fenrir, now grey-muzzled and ancient, stood from his seat. I once tried to kill you before you were born, he said. I feared what you would become, but your mother showed me the error of my ways. And your father proved that love and honor still exist in this world. You've spent 18 years proving yourself worthy of our trust. The Northern Pack stands with you, Moon's chosen, now and always. One by one the other alphas stood. They pledged their loyalty, their warriors, their territories to Luna's vision of unity. And when the last alpha had spoken, when the historic moment was complete, they all shifted into wolf form and howled together, a sound of triumph and hope that echoed across the realm. Aldrich watched his daughter, this miracle child who had brought peace to a fractured people, and felt Ilara's presence stronger than ever before. He looked up at the full moon hanging in the night sky and whispered, "We did it, my love. We kept our promise. Our daughter is everything you hoped she would be." And as if in answer, a gentle breeze moved through the hall, carrying the scent of autumn leaves and honeysuckle. Ilara's scent, a sign that she was there, had always been there, watching over them both. Luna turned to Aldrich with tears in her silver eyes. "Do you feel that, Papa? That's Mama. She's here. She's proud of us." Aldrich pulled his daughter into an embrace, this young woman who had united the Lycan world, who had fulfilled an ancient prophecy, who had made her mother's sacrifice mean something profound and beautiful. "She's always been here," he said softly. "In every choice you made, in every act of courage, in every moment of compassion. You're her legacy, Luna, and you've honored it beyond anything she could have imagined." As the celebration continued around them, as Lycans from every territory mingled and formed the bonds of a new united pack, Aldrich stood with Luna beneath the moon and felt, for the first time since Ilara's death, complete peace. The journey had been long and painful, marked by loss and sacrifice, but it had led to this moment, this future, this hope. The prophecy had been fulfilled. The moon's chosen had united the packs. And somewhere in the starlight, Ilara Thorne smiled, knowing that her daughter had not only survived but thrived, raised by a king who had learned to be a father, Protected by a love that transcended death itself, the Lycan world would never be the same. And that was exactly as it should be. If you enjoyed this story of King Aldrich and the Moon's chosen child, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more epic tales. Drop a comment below and let us know which part of the world you're watching from. We love hearing from our global audience, and your support helps us create more stories like this one. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.